Horror movies. I scream, you scream, we all scream for the horror movie scene. My oh my, I'm nearly 44 years old trying to say whatever the fuck that was, but that being said, horror movies, my favorite genre. I love all the subgenres except zombie movies because really I don't think there's enough brains, ironically, behind the zombie movies to really carry them anymore. They kind of just shamble. This is thriller, thrill the night. I just love a good goddamn horror movie. Everybody loves a really good scare. Some people love laughs with their scares. Everybody can love a horror movie. They can love multiple horror movies, like I'm about to talk about on this particular list. I'm John Rhythm with the 15 best horror movies of 2024 list with some honorable mentions. Now let me know your favorite horror movies in the comments, please. And I will be doing the best horror movies of the decade so far list, including ones from 2020 all the way to now. Also, I am recording this in the early part of December, depending on when you end up seeing this and when this drops, because I have a lot of movies I'm still going to watch, but I'm kind of winding down the horror watching because I'm looking at like what's coming out, and I'm like, yes, there's Nosferatu on Christmas Day, but honestly, even if it's really good, whatever, it is what it is. I just want to talk about some of the stuff. And I'm going to get into it right goddamn now, because we're going to talk about Handling the Undead. It's from Neon Studios. It features the actress from The Worst Person in the World. She's Norwegian, and I always screw up her name, but she is really talented. She is really fucking gorgeous, and I am thrilled that, you know, she got to be in something like this. Now, it is slow moving. It's very slow moving, and in fact, that's why it's not on in the top 15. It takes a while to get going. It's more family genre about three particular undead entities coming back to life and how they're trying to integrate themselves into society. Kinda, a little bit. Or at least the families are trying to integrate them back in, but obviously they have certain issues, like the fact that they're zombies and they want to eat people, and that ends up factoring in a little bit later. That's not really a spoiler because it's a fucking zombie movie. But it is tremendously well done, well crafted, well shot. And again, the lead actress from, The Worst Person in the World, really goddamn good. That being said, let's go to My Bloody Galentine, a Tubi original, or at least it's on Tubi. I forgot if it's an original. If it was meant to be taken seriously, once again, they failed miserably. But I had a great time with this comedy horror. It was a slasher about, somebody that was targeting certain influencers or people that, the social media influencer sub-genre of horror is just filled to the brim with not very good stuff. But My Bloody Galentine was entertaining as fuck. I found it great with the kills. I was enjoying it. I was laughing. I was cheering. I'm not going to say it's a fucking masterpiece. The characters are kind of generic. The writing isn't all that great. But man, it's so entertaining that they hit enough of the right notes that I gotta recommend it right here. Your Monster. Melissa Barrera, I will once again say, deserves her flowers and should be on the Scream 7 shoot, but no, Spyglass Entertainment said you can't call for innocent people not getting mowed down. Oh, wait, what do you mean? Nev, come back. Wait, we don't have Jenna Ortega. Great, now we're going to have to go in a totally different direction. You could argue the directions they were taking Melissa Barrera's character weren't exactly going to work, but that being said, brief tirade over, I wish Melissa Barrera nothing but the best. This was a Regal Mystery Movie entry that I was able to see a little bit earlier. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It has its issues. It does have a few pacing issues, but I thought as far as mixing comedy and horror, and Melissa Barrera's terrific acting range, and the guy that played the monster, I thought, did a good job, too. It should have leaned into the horror a little bit more. I would argue that maybe of all the horror movies that I'm talking about here, horror comedy, whatever, this is probably the least horror, of all of them. But I wanted to shout Your Monster here because, again, pretty damn good film, even with its imbalance issues. Rita, a recent entry. It's a Shudder original from, is it Argentina? I think it's Argentina. I just reviewed it, but see, some of these movies like kind of blend together after a while as far as their location. But it's based on a real life deal where a bunch of children were not well cared for in a safe house, shall we say. And this is told in more of a fantasy horror way and features some uncomfortable scenes. And even what they don't show can be scary, but Rita hits enough of the right notes that I feel it's well worth recommending. I thought the young girl that was lead actress, she did a great job. So that's what I wanted to just shout right there. What You Wish For. Nick Stahl from Terminator 3 and also from What Josiah Saw, which I will continue to say was a dog shit movie. It wasn't any good, and that wasn't his fault. There was like no way they could save that. He plays a guy that is trying to escape some debts, goes to a foreign country, and ends up taking a chef job that it turns out has a lot, darker shit going on, behind the scenes than he would have originally thought. And I wasn't so certain what I was going to think with this particular movie, but it ended up actually winning me over with its sort of in-your-face mentality of, the rich thinking they can get away with whatever, and Nick Stahl kind of being stuck. And actually, I thought he did a pretty damn good job acting as well. Some good gore, some good story elements, and I thought it was paced perfectly as far as getting in, getting out before it started to get a little bit long in the tooth. Ironic, given what happens. But yeah, What You Wish For, pretty good. Woman of the Hour, Anna Kendrick directing and starring in this film that's about a real-life serial killer. And, it's Anna Kendrick. She always looks so good. And she is more reserved here, and there are some scenes that are a little bit horrifying about this serial killer and trying to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. It is a bit rough to watch at times. There are a few times where I was like, okay, we're bouncing back and forth a little bit too much in the timeline. I thought we could have done that a little bit less. But I thought that, honestly, Woman of the Hour, for the most part, especially for Anna Kendrick making her big debut as a director, I thought hit most of the right notes. Thought the fashions are good. And I thought enough of it worked. Now we go to Milk and Cereal. Check out That's a Bad Idea on YouTube. That was this is where this film came from. It's two people. They directed this, I think it's like a 62-minute horror movie. It's not very long. It's found footage, and it is, I don't even want to say bargain basement in a bad way, because this budget apparently was like maybe $800 to $3,000, because they just had themselves, because it's like two guys and they have their other friends join in on their channel. And the humor isn't necessarily from me, but I appreciate what they did. But I was surprised by this. I'm like, okay, yes, there are parts where I'm like, oh boy, that was a fun scene that didn't look all that great. But then again, it's such a small budget that I really appreciated the positives, which far outweighed the negatives. There were some genuinely chilling moments, and the lead actor has the perfect face, the perfect smile for horror movies. I mean that as a compliment. I thought there were some great moments in this, so I definitely want to recommend Milk and Cereal. I also want to recommend, even though it's not horror, Love Lies Bleeding. I just had to recommend that right there, because why the fuck not? Now, let's get to the top 15. Maxine. Okay, one could argue that this might not deserve to be on the list because of the X trilogy, X, Pearl, and this. This is the weakest. And I actually drove to a theater in North Seattle that I love frequenting, except for the fact it's in North Seattle, and I live quite a bit away, especially if it's bad traffic. But I decided I'm going to go catch a special screen of this because that was the closest theater playing it. Has Mia Goth and has Halsey, the singer, heading straight for the castle. She, I don't know why she gets so much hate, because I saw she was getting online hate for like some stuff, and I don't get it. She seems like she has a good head on her shoulders, and I believe she's been going through health issues. But that being said, that's another story for another day. She's a talented singer, and she actually was pretty good here, and this is the Mia Goth show. Mia Goth was doing a great goddamn job here. I thought there were some other good, pieces and good actors in this. My only issue really that just ekes it onto here is it was enough like X and Pearl with Mia Goth's tour de force of her performance that I can appreciate what they did. But to be quite honest, the third act really does start to lose steam. And there are great moments in this. There are great slasher moments. But it just, that ending in particular, where I'm like, really? Really? And there were a few moments where I'm like, I don't think that scene worked out quite as well as Ty West was hoping. Now we go to number 14, Faceless After Dark. Jenna Cannell, love Jenna Cannell. What a goddamn talent, from Terrifier to, various other horror movies. Was recently, I believe, in the fourth Bad Boys movie. Was in Renfield. She, I believe she, they, those are the pronouns, trying to be respectful. Very good. Very, very good. Very good talent. Has a great face for horror, a great body language for horror, and she was like somebody that was like an actress that was in a clown horror movie that was, trying to basically get, trying to get more fame and stuff like that and get out of being typecasted. And that kind of dissolved to where she basically was back, firing back at the fans, essentially, in her own way. I thought Jenna did a great goddamn job. I like the use of color. I like the use of, lighting and everything. I thought that there were some good kills in this, and it didn't overstay its welcome. I wasn't sure at first. I was like, okay, this sounds all right. I paid a few bucks to watch it, and I'm glad I did. I would gladly pay full price to watch this. I would have watched this in theaters, and I would have enjoyed it. Faceless After Dark is pretty goddamn good. Not the greatest, but it does hit enough high notes to recommend. Number 13, Lisa Frankenstein. It has Catherine Newton in it. How am I not going to watch it? Love Catherine Newton. Hard to believe that she started at Paranormal Activity 4. And I was like, okay, they're going with a new cast. Oh, okay. She's got energy. And now you see her now, and you see her character arc, acting arc. It's great to see. She looks perfect for the 80s, has that great look, captures the spirit of the 80s perfectly. Carla Gugino has a brief role in this. Cole Sprouse, I thought was a very good, as a guy Lisa ends up resurrecting. And it's good, from Diablo Cody, which, if you know that name, then you know. The whole point is I was excited because that Jennifer's Body Type influence, yes, it has a few issues. I think that there were a couple tonal inconsistencies. But as far as spirit, look, enough humor, and some good gore, I really appreciated what this did. And I may have to rewatch it at some point. This is another mystery movie that I ended up catching. I really ended up enjoying Lisa Frankenstein. All you need is death. Death is all you need. All you need is death. And yes, this is where it is. All you need is death was a lot of fun. I mean, some of these entries are going to be a little bit shorter. But All You Need Is Death had enough working for it. As far as being a Shudder original, I thought had, good atmosphere, great look. And given what I read about it, I was like, okay, this doesn't exactly sound great. But then when I saw that the reviews were actually fairly positive, I was like, okay, all right, this ends up turning out pretty well. So yeah, I'm just going to give All You Need Is Death a little bit of a shout right here. Because some of these will be, by the way, a little more detailed. Some of these will just be briefly gone over. Like The Devil's Bath. The Devil's Bath is about an arranged marriage. It goes absolutely tits fucking up. It is nuts. It is very, very nuts. Lead actress does a really good job. Good atmosphere. Takes its time getting going. Once it does, especially in the second half, once it kicks in, get ready to enjoy and sink your teeth into it. So let's go to 10. Red Rooms over there. I can't remember if it was French Canadian, I think. I think it was. I believe it was. But there was this model that gets a little bit too interested in a serial killer who is on trial, and that ends up causing her life to spiral out of control on the dark web and everything. And I wasn't sure how to take this at first because I was like, all right, that sounds like a weird balance. You know what? It was a weird balance. And man, it has a hell of a goddamn arc where it just gets really weird in the third act. And I liked it. And I spent, a good $7 or $8 on it on Amazon. I was really happy I did. That's after tax and everything, but I don't mind plunking down a few bucks to give it a shot. Red Rooms was a lot of fun. Pretty goddamn creepy, actually, especially with those going on, the information superhighway in the dark web to find certain dark material and everything, and the wrapping and the fact that people can get wrapped up in their own obsession. You're my obsession. The Red Rooms are here. Red Rooms. Careful. Make sure you have a good firewall if you Google what Red Rooms are. The movie, by the way, fucking terrific. Number 9, Late Night with the Devil. This is up a lot higher on my best list for midway through the year. And Late Night with the Devil does get high marks, all high marks, as far as the time period. Being captured perfectly. Feels like a tape that was plucked from the 70s. You have David Damaskian. I can never remember his goddamn name. He was one of the few good parts in The Boogeyman, and he was really good as a late night host. And the fact that this just, it goes a little bit silly in its third act, and some people feel like it loses steam there. I'm not going to disagree, but upon reflection, this movie has so many positives going towards it that you can't help but enjoy the goddamn thing. So, let's get into number 8. Heretic. Hugh Grant being a goddamn delight. The two lead actors, two lead actresses, the missionaries, they do a good, the Latter-day Saints, they do a good job. I actually thought that, there was, one we expected to do really good, but we had like one, she just came out of nowhere doing some good stuff. Heretic, and I go into this in my reviews on Letterboxd and also on the Real Honest Movie Reviews playlist, but Hugh Grant was such a fucking delight in this. It was obvious that the movie was gonna be polarizing, especially for those that are into religion, but to me personally, I just felt that this balanced it well enough, and also it's from A24, so how the fuck am I not gonna be into something that A24 does? And it was a big hit. It was a big goddamn hit, and really good. A recent entry, I watched it about a month ago. Number 7, Terrifier 3. That's right, Terrifier 3 is on here after Terrifier 2 topped my worst movies of 2022 list. Not worst horror movies, worst movies. I hated Terrifier 2, even though Lauren Lavera and a few other actors did fine, and there were a couple decent moments. It went on way too long. Now, this is still longer than the original, but I felt struck the perfect balance of comedy, horror, and I love that opening scene, because those little shits had it coming. Boy, did you ever. That's what you get. That's what you goddamn get for wanting happiness. I don't know why I said it like that. I was having a great time because I was with an engaged audience. And Lauren Lavera was, even better here because she was a standout in the second one. But good goddamn Christ, she is beautiful. Good goddamn Christ. And Art the Clown. They captured the spirit perfectly. Chris Jericho got killed. Sorry, a bit of a spoiler, but, unfortunately just in the movies. He's not dead yet. But yeah, $2 million budget, and it's made a copious amount of money, and it is going to end up getting a 4th movie. Damien Leone, I think, says he will make another one, but is not sure if he'll make anything after the 4th. And honestly, if he wants to do a 4th one, have it be a quadrilogy, and call it from there, that's fine. Honestly, he could do it in 2026. That could be 10 years, 4 movies, call it from there, and then make some other stuff if he wants to. But yeah, Terrifier 3 really surprised me with how good it was. Number 6, Mads. Absolute batshit insane French. I believe it's French or French adjacent. Like, nutty movie about just a virus. That much I'll say, and it's found footage like, and you're just following people. You're following this one particular character, and it just gets insane. And boy, it's a spin on a particular subgenre that I didn't necessarily like. And I stand by that every single day. But Mads was nuts. Really, really goddamn nuts. And nuts in the best way. Yeah, it had a bit... It was almost a bit abrupt. I mean, I think they could have maybe gone a little bit longer on it. But what a hell of a goddamn second and third act. Once they kicked it into gear, it's like, oh. And the camera work, fucking tremendous. So, number 5, I Saw the TV Glow. Jane Schoenbrum. God damn it, I can't remember that. Jane. They're very good at, understanding atmosphere and everything. Even if I didn't like We're All Going to the World's Fair, I appreciate what they were trying to do. They, by the way, because they're transitioning to being a woman. I don't care. I can never quite remember, but all I know, need to be respectful of the pronouns. Let's do that. I Saw TV Glow from A24 and Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne. and just a lot of great color usage, camera work, fucking tremendous. Absolutely tremendous goddamn movie, which I need to watch again at some point. I did rewatch it, sometime after it dropped on Max, and it gets better as you watch it, knowing that you can, now that you know kind of what to look for, you can look for some other stuff and say, wow, I didn't realize that the first time. And I'm not going to say it's perfect, it's not for everybody, but I understand why it has detractors. But to say that this movie isn't some level of art that doesn't have something to say, even I gotta admit it's art. I'm not being pretentious when I say that. This movie's really art. And that fucking... some of the stuff by Justice Smith, I mean, my God. Acted his ass off. Number 4, Infested. Oh, the friendship returned with what sting it should have been. Instead of one goofy spider doing stuff in like a 4-room, apartment complex, we get a bunch of spiders doing a bunch of shit. Oh boy, it just gets insane. And it's great. Great body horror. Great use of atmosphere. They make the one location shoot work. It really, really is fucking good. Like, I praise Infested of the goddamn heavens. It is on Shudder if you want to check it out. It is really, really, really fucking good. And obviously there are going to be some that I forget about that I really did end up liking, but I just want to say this is what I wrote down. This is a list that I've edited like 3 different times. So that means that I do want to know your guys' favorite horror movies, best horror movies of this year in the comments. But Infested is really fucking good. I need to watch it again at some point. I need to take some time and rewatch some of these movies. But until then, let's go to number 3. Strange Darling. Jesus. I see why this got so much praise. A twist on cat and mouse horror, shall we say, without giving too much away. You have a girl, you have a guy, there's a pursuit, and everything is not what you think it is. My. They tipped their hand early as to what actually might have been going on to an extent, but whoo boy. I was watching this and having a teetotal blast, and there were some gore parts, there were some horror parts, there was some cracking of flesh and stuff like that. But man, there were some parts where I'm like, yeesh, okay, I think the director has some issues with people. But I mean that in the best way. The Strange Darling was really, really fucking good. Number 2, Exuma, South Korean horror movie, mixing a few subgenres, few topics, and is just bonkers and insane. I watched this with a completely packed theater. A shocking amount of people were watching this. I think a lot of people came from Canada to watch it because it didn't get released in a whole lot of theaters, and I was fortunate enough to get a ticket, top row, where I like it. And I was able to sit down and watch this near 2.5-hour South Korean horror movie. Just absolutely, and I'm crumpling this list because I know what number 1 is, and you probably know what number 1 is, but Exuma is on Shudder and is terrific. Just when you think it's going to go this direction, it goes over here, and it takes the story in an even better way, an even better direction than you might have thought. That being said, number 1, have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect? This is The Substance. Yeah, it had to be The Substance. Demi Moore literally giving the performance of her career. Margaret Qualley absolutely fucking nailing it. Easily becoming one of my favorite, actresses that burst on the scene in the past few years. Sanctuary, Drive-Away Dolls wasn't all that great, but she was good in it. But The Substance, you had Dennis Quaid subbing for Ray Liotta because Ray Liotta couldn't do it on account of him being dead. But Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, being two sides of the same coin. Directed by Coralie Farjah, I believe is how it's said. If I got that wrong, I apologize. She was the one that did Revenge. And I'm glad I watched Revenge before seeing this, because now this is way, way different than Revenge. Because Revenge had its gory parts, its insane parts. This is just so goddamn bonkers. Once it kicks in, the body horror effects are incredible. This movie absolutely deserves every bit of praise that it gets. And the only thing that I wish is that a bigger studio had taken a chance on it and let Coralie do what she wanted to do. Because in Mubi, whatever, I don't think is the worst. It's fine that up-and-coming studios are doing stuff, but they did How to Have Sex and put that on their streaming service, and I watched that, and I got a free trial of it, but it's not exactly the best streaming service. That's really my only issue, and that has nothing to do with the substance, but it's so fucking terrific. And that ending, just when you think that they've gone as far as they can go, they go further. And that closing shot, Jesus, it has so much more to say besides body horror about unrealistic, beauty standards for women, especially in Hollywood. I mean, in general, but especially in Hollywood. I thought Demi Moore played that perfectly. There is the mirror scene. You know what one I'm fucking talking about. Where we've all been there. Where we're thinking that we're ready to go. We're thinking we're fine. And we can't do it. We can't fucking do it. And that's one of the most haunting things. If Demi Moore does not at least get Oscar consideration for this, that's nothing against Margaret Qualley. But if we're going to give somebody a goddamn Oscar consideration for horror, it has to be Demi Moore here. And yeah, that's really all I'd say. The Substance, the best horror movie of the year, one of the best movies of the year, or maybe the best. You will have to wait and see what happens with that list later on. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.